Hey, welcome into this edition of a live GASOcast. Two cities, one GASO. It was a great event last weekend. Loser, what do you think?
Looking at a couple of these courts here, uh, it could get a little overwhelming with you over there at the MI3 Center. It's a very tight space that just brings a lot of atmosphere and environment, and having to go back and forth through a couple of courts. That's what makes the weekend worth it. That's what makes these matchups so fun.
Yeah, and let me kind of break it down for you. Blue was in Houston. Me and Michael were in Houston on Friday and Saturday. Then we drove around 5 o'clock. We drove back to Dallas to get our bearings right to go in and go full steam on Sunday. Yesterday was a rough day. I was feeling it. I was very, very exhausted, but glad we did put in the work. Before we jump in and start talking teams and players, we want to talk about a little bit of things going on here at GASO. A couple of hoops will be dropping later this week between me and Blue. That is sponsored by Synergy. The Recruiting Simplified newsletter. It will be dropping tomorrow at 9 a.m. Jump on board. You can find my link in bio. Acting Bad broadcast coming at some point. I don't want to pigeonhole you in, Mike.
I
But
appreciate that.
it's coming. It's
Yeah,
coming.
I am starting to accumulate a lot of clips. The problem is there's a lot of clips, so
Fair enough.
good problem, bad problem. But acting bad broadcast will be shot this week. It will be posted at some point this week.
Yep. The fast break, Lyndon will be writing that. And we made our personal teams. We all see different things. So we made our starters. We have an MVP, stock riser, next gen player. We're contributing big in that one. And then we dropped the final 2024 rankings last week. So if you are not a member of the GASO Fast Break, you probably should be, because you're also going to get a GASO Extra weekly where we go in and we talk about all types of stuff. It's GASOcast / Wheels Off. So let's just tip this off with our thoughts on the weekend. Blue, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, a little bit. I think is what I've already mentioned is that there's this sense it's April now, and people are now hitting the court even more. This is kind of our opening round, right? I know we had King of the Court, but still, this is our traditionally over the last couple of years to be able to be in two cities and give the all the attention to these players through our media. Shout out to our media and to everybody that showed up from Houston and in Dallas to cover their teams or certain players. That we really do appreciate that, and so it's one of those events that I feel like kind of just it tips off the season, and people are starting to realize, man, we need to be on the court at GASA for the right matchup, so we can go to the court and get polished and get ready for shoe events or wherever else they're going next.
Mike?
Yeah, for me, I mean, we keep preaching tell your story. We keep preaching build your momentum, but that's exactly what a lot of these players did this past weekend. It's early on, it's April. A lot of the rosters are new. Some teams that in the past we've kind of given them that bump because of their brand and who they are, and we expect them to show up with players, and they all did. But just after this weekend, we got so much ammo as a GASO staff to, one, advocate, like we always say, but two, just to kind of really grasp what the lay of the land is in grassroots around Texas. Some teams that usually come out and show out early on did, but then there's a lot of other new teams that show that they're really deep and they have plenty of depth to earn their way into some bigger matchups as the GASO season goes along. But I will say this, throughout the week, Mass and I were very excited to be in Houston, then go to Dallas. But for that to work the way it worked, there needed to be good basketball, because us as humans and us as how much we planned all week, there were times where we're like, hey, we just hit a wall. Midday Saturday, we hit a wall, but then very quickly the wall ended because of the matchups we saw right away. Whether it was Jarius Jackson, we'll talk about the HT Toros JO3 game, but there was just so much talent that allowed us as a staff to continue to um, have the momentum we had to be able to be everywhere we need to see and see all the basketball. So very excited in how the weekend went off.
Full transparency, me and Michael purposely ate healthy so we wouldn't fall asleep. That 2:30, we're like, man, and we ate healthy for you guys.
And no free shout outs on what we ate either. If you're not a sponsor, what's up? But we ate healthy. Facts,
Yeah,
bro.
I
We
think,
it
do it.
I think you stopped when I was about to say what
Yeah.
we had at that noon time that took us all the way into the night.
What are you thinking,
electric
Mass?
matchups everywhere, guys. So let's jump into them. Heavyweight matchup game that you just like couldn't take your eyes off of. Blue, I'm going to pass it to you first.
Yeah, I mean this was a chip shot for me,
The,
man.
no,
You got to
the text messages you were sending, they were just so cryptic, but we knew exactly what you were saying without
Yeah, I don't know
without
if it's
saying
on
it.
film. I don't know if it's on film, but I'm gonna talk about Gulf Coast Blue Chips and Houston Superstars to our audience. There was one point I'm sitting behind John Uri. I'm standing behind him so he purposely cannot see me, and I'm with Charles Ament, and he stands up, and somebody does a play, and he does this, and he starts scanning, and somebody goes, "He's looking for you." I'm like, "No, I think I'm by Doug Jones also." And then finally he locks eyes with me. I told you. And I'm like, I'm just standing right here. I'm just trying to be a bystander, evaluate, having fun. And that right there, of course, should tell you the way the game went. Houston Superstars were up by as many as about 16, I think,
No,
Michael.
it was
When you
20 in the game
Oh, it
recap.
was 20. So we do have
20,
the tech. Go to Tech Soups TV right
yeah.
after y'all finish watching this YouTube channel. The game recap's up. Shout out to Big Toe for filming that. But it has the theatrics. It has the back and forth. It's a very very fun watch. I know Mass watched it this morning, but you're
Yeah.
right. You're right on point, Blue.
I lived it. Okay, guys, I
It
lived
had
it.
a
And
Yuri
so
moment too, where Yuri's on the court like pointing at everybody. It's great. Big Toe kept it
I
real.
mean, I'm not encouraging it. I'm just saying that it goes along with the story of like that's how the game went, and they had that 20-point lead, and Teddy Wheeler, to his credit, that guy just kept calling out plays. He was keeping his guys calm. They were Montana had the ball in his hands. I mean, look when you go step out there with Montana Wheeler, Logan Alexander, Thomas. I mean, this team with size, with the ability to change the game inside the middle of the paint, really was the momentum building that they needed, and guys were knocking down shots, and in both ways. I mean, with BJ Gill. Uh, for Houston Superstars being able to early on get inside the paint and create things for his teammates. TK Lawson really had a great battle out there on the perimeter. I mean, they threw multiple guys at him. I think one of the keys to this game was Jamal Creighton goes out and he's 6'4", 6'5", and he starts guarding BJ Gill. BJ Gill, I'm 5'6". Okay, they list him at 5'9", 5'10". Okay. But when you throw the size out on him, that's where the game started changing too, because now it was 4-on-4 with Jamal pushing BJ away from the basket, and this thing started changing for the Blue Chips, and then took an overtime.
I,
And the
I,
thing is, it was Montana Wheeler had to hit one free throw to get to 69. He misses both free throws, and here we go racing down to the other end, and then finally Logan Alexander, I think, has a tip in off of like 2 offensive rebounds. And it was just a tough ball game. It was fun.
I will say this though, like as you talk about how Teddy Wheeler was, calm, cool, and collected. There is a moment where you see the tide switch and he starts to chirp and bark a little bit, but that's kind of what
Yeah.
you want. Like we're human, and I could just tell. Okay, when a coach like Teddy Wheeler starts to get engaged the way he was engaged, it was a big momentum switch. But I mean, shout out to John Uri after the game. Quote tweeted on our post about the game cap. Houston Superstars are always going to give you a show, and that's exactly what they did. So yeah, that was definitely.
I'm going to say something encouraging though here. As much as there was some chirping going on back and forth, they respected each other, and there were some smiles coming off of that court, because no matter if you won or lost, this has nothing to do with anybody's record. They competed, and that's what people wanted.
I
When
love
they
a
come
good
to the GASO, they want competition.
I'll hop in here. Triumph versus YGC, both 17U. Triumph pulls the upset. And I want to talk about just a couple of their guys who have created so much buzz to essentially start this grassroots season. And it's Michael Grant, Parker Overstreet, Terry Shelton. Those three were phenomenal. Trent Bowers from Birdville. Michael Grant, I don't know if y'all or if our audience have watched much of him, but the kid he's electric. He can knock down shots. He gets to the paint, uses a strong frame. He runs really hard in transition. And then I think the part that kind of went unnoticed in this game was Terry Shelton guarding Bug. And obviously, y'all know who Bug is. Bug is unbelievable. He does two things at probably the highest level in Texas. He's electric fast, so tough to cover in transition. And then he shoots the cover off the ball. And Terry Shelton made him work. And, like, that's the best you can do against a kid like that. And I thought Terry's defense on him was about as good as you could ask for. And Bug still did Bug things. You know, he played really well. But this game was back and forth. And it started off with a Bug three, and then Triumph rattles off 10 straight. And me and Mike look at each other like, hey, you got jabbed, and then Triumph comes right back with a cross. And then YGC kind of cut it and made it close again. It was just a really fun game, and Triumph had to hold them off at the end. And it was a game that they kind of stumbled through at the end to hold them off because YGC is such a strong program. Michael, what were your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, no, it was just everything we wanted. I don't know whoever made the schedule, but we were hoping that it was a competitive game. And right off the bat, Bug hits a three at the beginning. You're like, oh, okay, here we go. But then I don't know, was it Bowers in the corner?
Bowers, then Grant, back-to-back threes.
So I was like, okay, this is going to be a matchup. But yeah, just the speed that you saw with ASAC. I mean, you have Trent Payne, Cam Marks, and Caden Edwards. That's just electric speed. But just the whole game. If you turned away, you're going to miss a dunk, or what about the alley oop that Cam Marks to Trent Payne, Michael Grant jumping over Bug like he did. Just so many different things. But like you said, you saw the firepower of YGC to make that game a game at the very end. And yeah, it was just everything you wanted, a back and forth matchup.
Also, Craig Smith said it best. It's great to see Jed Nancha back on the floor. I hadn't seen him in a minute. I know he'd been kind of hurt, but he came in and was physical, getting buckets inside. That was another bright spot. I know YGC ended up losing the game, but you just see that and you're like, you never want a kid to kind of lose momentum from an injury, right? And so to see him coming back and do some of the things he was doing, I was encouraged with that as well. Michael, what was your matchup?
Yeah, so mine was similar in the Dallas area, but it was ASAC 17s versus second and none. That ASAC 17s roster has a whole bunch of dudes that we can't get enough of. When you're looking at the guard play of Uzziah Button coming off a state tournament run, looking at there right here, Aiden Daisu, Bo Ogden, Ivan Dorn, Knowledge Carter, Ryder Bradley, Sean Williams. Just a lot of dudes that our GASO staff is very up on, playing against a team that played in our King of the Court and second to none, that we trusted that was going to, hey, you've earned this game to bring ASAC in Sunday, and that's second to none. The Shannon twins are just absolute dogs, goons. We walk in, Mass and I walk in Sunday. We weren't there all weekend. One of the Shannon brothers, just a big old bandit. I'm like, bandage. Man, what's up? But they were ready to go. That battle back and forth, it was just blow for blow. Just when you talk about a game that you just want to keep watching, it's when both teams make runs, both teams take their best punch, and that's what you want. And just back and forth, both teams started chirping a little bit. It had to be physical. The inside presence, man, of ASAC, they just got big bodies and dudes that carve out space and just wear on you over and over again. When we talk about a heavyweight style fight, I think that's kind of where ASAC kind of wanted in the pace, just in the paint overwhelming. But in that second half, Bo Ogden started hitting threes. I know somebody came over to me and was like, how's Bo playing? And he hits like 2 threes back to back. But just everything you want in a matchup. And I think when we talk about telling your story, momentum, both teams had plenty of dudes. And we're going to talk about some more as we do this GASOcast, generate a momentum for themselves. And that's all you can ask.
Yeah, great segment. But before we hop there, I do want to talk about there was a game within the game, and you don't usually get this pure of a matchup, but Noah Mallory, Aiden Daisu were guarding each other. And, they're very, they're not far apart in ranking, and just they kind of they do similar things. It was just really fun to watch them compete at a high level. you talk about the individual matchups. How often do they actually happen? Not quite, because you scheme, you do different things, but watching them compete versus each other was a really fun little bonus on that game. But moving in, as Michael said, to the momentum generators, and these are just guys who are on the up and to the right. Blue?
Yeah, here I'm going to tip it off with Terry Satcher from Houston Superstars, just because through all the chaos, through all the great players that are on the court, Terry Satcher, Beaumont Westbrook, high school player, and he knows where to go line up. He knows where he's going to get his shot from, and he just goes and kind of just a relaxed, calm way. He does not get caught up in all of it. He just goes and tries to find a quick spot to catch and shoot, knock down some threes. Michael, you said it off screen that, when you watch the film, I mean, he hits some big buckets, but he's not out there pointing at the fans and chirping and just he's just playing basketball. He's a basketball player, guys, and he needs to be recruited.
Mike?
Yeah, I'll go here. I just mentioned the ASAC team, Sean Williams from Gregory, Portland. I went to middle school in Flower Bluff, so I'm very familiar with GP. But just from the highlights and things I saw from the high school season, I want to see how that translated into some bigger competition. I know he was a walking double-double. I'm in the force inside, but I left that game like he's a true alpha force inside, skilled footwork. Um, those guards were getting downhill and dropping it off to him. He was able to finish in very different, crafty, different angles of releases and things like that. Just everything I want to see, he showed me, and I can advocate for Sean Williams even more because of just what I got to see live. Unfortunately, I wasn't driving down to Corpus. I'm only going to course most likely, unless if I'm going to the beach, you know what I'm saying. But he had a chance to play the GASO in front of us, so I was very, very excited to see the way he performed.
I'm going to hop in with Gilbert Aluga, one of my favorite kids in the 2026 class. Had a great conversation and interaction with him, too. And I got to just kind of talk with him, ask him about how his recruitment's going, all that type of thing. And he was just so self-aware. He was like, I got to get better at this, this, and this. And it's probably the exact same thing I would have told him. And then he goes out there and plays. And something that I hadn't necessarily noticed about him when I saw him during the season was how ridiculous his footwork is. He finishes everything around the basket. He can throw the ball up on his head. Around his head. He jumps in there, does a jump stop, reverse pivots, and does kind of this reverse mic. And I'm just like, dude, this dude's wild. Like, he's got a great body. He knocked down a three. He's a good decision maker from the point of attack. You can definitely play small ball with him as your big because you're not going to lose anything rebounding the ball. And he's just so strong. He can move guys outside of the paint and make an impact. And also, like, you want him making a decision when he's in a pick and roll, when he catches it and he throws the ball and goes and plays hands and sets a screen. He'll slip, he'll hold. He knows everything. He just knows how to play. He's a very, very intelligent player with really good footwork, and he's a riser for me.
Yeah, Lyndon Cook was at Dallas all weekend, so he sent me a couple names. Armani Green of EA or EA Hoop. It's not EA Hoops.
Yeah, EA Hoops, 15U.
Okay, I'm always scared to say it because I'm thinking about EA Sports, so I always am like, yeah, okay.
Dude's a killer.
I thought the same
all over the
thing.
place.
Yeah, killer. To the point where when OA, one of our videographers, was like, "Oh, Friday night," he was like, "Oh, this team can go. This kid's good." So just the fact that we had multiple members of staff saying the same exact thing. Armani Green was a real killer. And then Michael Grant for Triumph, who, Matt, you mentioned earlier, Lyndon was very high on. So those are two momentum generators. I'll hop in. Anthony Spencer, YGC 16s from Faith Family. Once again, you're doesn't matter what court you're on. Like, you're hearing something happening over and over again on Blue One Sunday when we saw him. Just the motor, the ability to play above the rim. You can tell that he craves getting a tip dunk or a dunk because he was all over the place, running the floor. When Camden McGilvery was sprinting, he was sprinting with him. That just a lot of momentum there. And that YGC 16s team I like a lot. The Almutter twins, McGilvery, Anthony Spencer inside. Just a ton of fun.
Hey, funny side note about Anthony Spencer. Coach Cornish, who is works at Faith Family, always just plays it so cool. Like last year, I remember seeing Davian Atkins for the first time when he's a freshman. I'm like, where's this kid coming from? And he's like, oh, yeah, like he's got a lot of work to do. And they're out there breaking our rim. Said the same thing about Anthony Spencer, Jaden Toppin, all the bigs, Dorian, all of them. He's like, oh, yeah, he's got work to do. And by the time they're a senior, he's like, oh, yeah, he's nice. So there's definitely a process that goes on there at Oak Cliff Faith Family that Coach Cornish, he's not going to give him his flowers until it's actually time. But man, he was fun to watch. I'm going to talk about a kid from second to none, Namdi Uba Ike. I'm
Do
sorry,
your best.
man. Coach Blakely, Allen, you can correct me later. This dude had some bounce. He's electric fast. He made some plays. Timmons, you were talking about him in the warm-up line. You were like, who's this dude? And then he started making real plays, getting by guys. They kind of spread the ball out late, and he would get downhill and make a play. He was going at some of those guards on ASAC who are phenomenal defenders. He just kind of popped when the dial turned up to 10 and the game got real tight. He made some plays, and that's fun to see. That's momentum.
Absolutely.
All right. Teams to look out for. A hot March and April, kind of carrying the steam, moving into the end of April and then into the live period, right? Who were some of those teams? Blue?
Texas Hard Work Boo Man. I mean, talking to Coach Jackson before the tournament even started this weekend, he was really upfront. He's like, we have a lack of size. He goes, I think that our guard play is really good. We just need to hit the court and really just play. And I think that they did. They got humbled, I think, in their first game, I believe on Saturday, but as they went along, they finished 2-1 on the weekend, and here they were with some of the strong guard play. Logan Gonzalez, you mentioned in the Cup of Hoops mass, and then you look at Jaden Cherry in another Cibolo Steel kid. Him and Logan are teammates. I mean, he's over there knocking down shots. He's running around, making defensive stops, trying to catch a loose, get to a loose ball. They play hard. And I think that is because of the way that Boo Man coaches them. He coaches them hard. He coaches them with intensity he's got a lot of passion and love
He'll tell the
for
truth.
the game of basketball for those kids. He loves those kids. He wants them to be at their best, and he will tell them when they're not at their best. But then he would praise them when they are riding high. And that's exactly what he did this weekend, because I think they got a lot out of this weekend. And I know that Timmons, as you were working through that schedule, you wanted to challenge them, putting some pieces there, putting some teams together for them. And you know what? Good for this team, because they do lack size, but man, they have speed, quickness, shooters, and they're going to defend even all five positions as best as to their ability.
Mike?
Yeah, for me, which one do I want to do first? Okay. Live on LBD Select went 3-0 in Houston. And those are one of the squads that I was just kind of looking for when you're not too familiar with how they're going to assemble themselves. Going 3-0 and jumped out right away. One of the guards that I was really Jaden Bergeron kind of set the tone for them.
Kid was good. Really good.
Was good all weekend. And they just have a good mix of size inside and out. They were going to play tough physical. So they're one of those teams, anytime we get a chance to see them, I'm like, okay, I know what they're going to be, and I'm excited to see them. So shout out to them going 3-0 down in Houston this past weekend.
Yep. All I've been here with Flash Elite 2026. If you followed me on Twitter, I'm pretty high on this team. Kensington Candler and Josh Weems, that backcourt is something serious. Very, very, very talented group. I wrote about them in depth, Kensington in depth in the Fast Break newsletter. But I also want to shout out some of their other guys that played well. Keyshawn Miles, Ian Barry, Braden Kellum. They're tallest guys about 6'4", Eli Fegans. But they rebound as well as any team that I've seen this grassroots season. And I'm sorry I just let the cat out of the bag, but Flash Elite 2026 is for real. They knocked off two shoe teams. In this backcourt of Kensington and Josh just kind of took turns, kind of a yin and yang, lightning thunder. They complement each other well. And when they need a bucket, both of those guys can go make a play. one of the most fun teams to watch, and a team that I'm looking forward to seeing again very soon.
Blue.
Michael, Texas
Me.
takeover. Texas takeover.
Yeah. Yeah, with Texas Takeover, I mean, this is really where we all can just jump in here. I mean, you're talking about another just physical team that has the bodies to compete defensively and offensively, but being able to get into the paint and score, or also just guard somebody 94 feet. And so this team is just like they're just starting off. You can kind of see that the wheels are turning on the sideline of how well that they compete and how hard they're going to go, and they're going to be in every game that they play. And so when you look at their lineup of like Robert Green, another Iowa Colony kid. I mean, he's got that big body that he's going to go out there and just relentlessly just go after somebody time and time again. And I mean, look at
He's good.
Derek
RJ, yeah. Kendall
Buckner.
Hillstock was somebody I
Yeah,
was very excited on. Aaron Ozolek is one of your favorite guys, Blue. Jaden Davis, kid from Nederland, he was just wildly productive.
Yeah, he
And
was.
guy just have great bodies on that team. Really, really fun to watch. And when we got to witness a little bit of the RJ Green game, man, oh man, when that kid gets going, him and BJ Gill, that is very, very obvious why they are a regional finalist, right?
yeah,
Absolutely.
and then also like Braden Campbell. I mean, there's something there at that 6'3", 6'4" wing body that is going to come alive, and he sure showed a little bit of glimpses of what he's going to be able to do. But I mean, that's the one that I'm just kind of keep my eye on, just to kind of see, okay, where is he going to take his next step? Where is he going to get better? Because he's got too much athleticism and frame to let it go to waste.
Blue, we kept like looking over, like we'd be across the gym when he'd make a play, and we'd be like, "You saw?" And okay, yeah, write that down. We both saw that. He did make some plays, and that's a really just
Yeah.
fun, balanced group. Moving into the senior advocate, it is normality right now for unsigned seniors to play, to kind of rise their stock and see what they can get at this point. So we're going to continue to advocate for them. Michael, who is a guy you want to advocate for who's an unsigned senior?
Yeah, so I'll start. Colton Collins of the Shooting Stars plays at Katy Tompkins. Um, if I'm going to advocate for you, I don't want it just to be like, oh, I've liked your name for a few years. I want to see you continue to take the next step in your development too, because no matter if you're in high school, college, the league, eighth grade, there's always something that you can work on and get better at. And this weekend, his first step was fast, but it got even faster. He was flying by people, taking off, finishing at the rim like he always does, but just his ability to add more speed to his game and mix that in with a very high level amount of shot making this weekend really stood out to me. The pop and the quickness and the speed at 6'2", 6'3", was on display, and he's one kid that is definitely a player that needs to be taken seriously in his recruitment.
Blue?
Jameis Brown Peterson, he suits up for the league. Played at Colleen Shoemaker. Just when you see somebody like him out there playing, and you got to give some of these guys some credit here in terms of like they're not going to give up yet. They have, and he does have some offers and interest, but he just wants to stay fresh, and he just doesn't know. Sorry about the dog in the background. That he just doesn't know what's going to come next, and maybe what's in store. How long is he going to play in this offseason? How long does he draw this out? But you can just see right away that he added a little bit of muscle throughout the year. His ability to knock down shots, play hard. Those are all skills. When you play hard and you go on both ends and you defend, those are skills that maybe that aren't always talked about, but those are key for his success in the next level. And he showed a lot this weekend.
Yeah. And Jordan Paca, the coach of the league, is gonna make you defend. They guard as good as anyone in the grassroots space. They fly around. They're all in their positions. They're a fun group to watch. I'm gonna go with
I'm
Devin
going to say
McLeod.
this
Oh,
about that group, though, real quick. Yeah, I'm going to jump in because you mentioned it, the league, and I even asked that. I go, y'all have 6 or 7 guys. They go, yeah, we got 7. That's the way we like it, so everybody can play. Those guys are coming off that court just drenched in sweat, and then they have to listen and talk about the negatives and the positives. Then they come back out. I mean, these guys have a lot of these guys are like endless motors. I really do enjoy watching them.
I would agree. I'm gonna go with Devin McLeod, San Antonio King Hoops Gold, or sorry, San Antonio King Hoops unsigned. This kid's just got winning pedigree. Played at San Antonio Veterans Memorial. He was playing hard. Michael tweeted. Me and Michael were actually sitting down watching their game a little bit, and he was like, "These dudes are competing, man." And so right. And Devin just makes plays. He's got a college-ready body, and he just knows how to win. It's just a no-brainer. There's a program out there for him, no doubt about it.
Yeah, for me, Tyshawn Livingston of Lee Green. I got to see him Sunday, but this was also the name Lyndon wanted me to add as well. I'm at 6'7", just his ability, he just looks like you're like, oh, okay, who is that? Then you're like, oh yeah, that's Tyshawn. But just he looks the part. He's big. He's physical inside. He has great hands. There were multiple times where Darius Johnson, the point guard for Lee Green, was attacking, just throwing no looks, darts right to him, catching it, finishing it. Finishes above the rim with dunks. Just 6'7", but plays more like he's 6'8", 6'9", 6'10". Just a really, really good inside game. So schools that are looking for a very, very productive interior guy, you need to look at Tyshawn Livingston with the Lee Green squad.
Blue?
Yeah, we both talked about Livingston in our after King of the Court. So that right there alone, coaches, shows the consistency that this kid's bringing to the court. Cortland Thomas, just his ranginess, his length inside. He'll go and block a shot. He'll run the floor. He'll go get a dunk. I mean, there's things that need to be obviously worked on with more reps of if he's going to shoot the ball more from the outside or dip inside. But I just like Cortland Thomas's just ability to fly around and make some plays for this Texas Takeover 17 UA Rise team. And he's a Houston legacy kid, so he's been well coached and he's been put in a lot of the fire throughout the seasons.
And Lyndon's also going to throw out Willie Rogers, Texas Wildcats, long, rangy wing, just goes and makes plays, gets downhill, and can play.
And he's kind of like the alpha anywhere he is. We talk about some of these unsigned seniors that come out and play. It's almost like they think they're too good to be out here. Yeah, like you need to come out here with real intensity, a real want to win. And Willie Rogers plays the same way at any court he's on, and that was very evident. I saw him play Sunday as well. But you just know what you're going to get out of that kid, and he's just going to always bring it. And he's not too cool for school, and he's good, man.
He has purpose, intention behind playing. Like, I love it.
Yeah.
Got a couple more segments for you here. We're going to talk about a couple prospects that are welcome back anytime. Prospects from out of the state who just kind of undeniable, as a GASO, you can see in our little logo, we have the state of Texas. We are very focused on Texas players, but sometimes the kid is just so undeniable and makes so many plays that it's like, hey, I like the way you play. Come on back and play in front of us again, and I'll tip us off with Bo Billingsley, Southern Assault 16U. This kid's a table setter. He gets players the ball where they need to have the ball. But when it's time, when it's tight game, he can go get a bucket and go make a play and kind of impose his will on the game. Blue, you and I saw Ahmad Hudson, JL315U EYBL. I don't know if this is true, but I saw he was like one of the top-ranked football prospects in Louisiana.
Well, he's got a body that translates to both sports. And, he's a Louisiana kid that's playing for JL3, 15U. And right away, you see somebody with that size, that athleticism and springiness around the basket. I mean, he does a lot of scoring inside and rebounding. A fun watch, but also he will be back. JL3 is coming back in not this weekend, but the following weekend of the summer preview, April 19 to 21. So we welcome him back. We will welcome him back, and he'll be there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Lyndon also had two names. I didn't get to see these guys, but I gave Louisiana Hoops a great schedule, and he was like, "Hey, make sure you talk about Craig Lovelady for them. He was a dude this weekend." And then the same thing with Arkansas's team locked in. He said Antonio Jordan really looked the part. So those are two guys. And I think Lyndon, when we do our newsletter this week, will have more to say about those guys. But he said, hey, make sure he looked at these segments, said, make sure you add those two names and those two teams because they came to Dallas this past weekend and stood out.
And to wrap up this live GASOcast, we're going to do a fun one. New Kids on the Block. And this is a little give and take. Like we've seen some of these guys, but it's maybe the first time that we've seen them play against a team where it's just I don't know, the validity of the performance, it all comes together and you see just an epic performance. And I'm going to just start with Jarius Jackson for the HD Toros. He played against JL3 16U EYBL, and this kid just was fearless. I think he had 6 or 7 threes, incredible pace, and just makes plays all over the court. It's almost like just an undeniable feeling. Like he's just like, I don't care who you are, I'm going to go compete. And I think he was kind of the catalyst for HD Toros really pushing JL3 EYBL, their 16U, into a really good game. And I feel like the Toros started a little bit slow, but Jarius sure didn't.
It felt like in that game, like he had 6 threes, and don't get me wrong, 6 is a lot. But when I looked at the box score, I was like, that's it. And that's not fair to say, but it felt like it was 10 or 11 or 12.
Yeah. He just
But
made so many tough shots. Like, it was just like tough shot after tough shot after tough shot. And he was not going to be denied, and he was going to make sure that game was tight. Blue?
yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry. Mike, go.
No, I was just going to say Jarius was one kid that I drove down to San Antonio, saw him play San Antonio Brennan. And they played San Antonio Brennan 3 times. So Lou has a point guard, a lead guard that they played. We talk about JL3 EYBL. He's not he doesn't care about the moment. He's played against dudes in his district all year long.
Yeah.
So he's ready for it, and he showed out. Blue.
Right here, Tanner Pyle from Team Imperial Drake. We talk about Team Imperial Drew a ton throughout the years, but Drake, he was out there with some Clear Lake kids, and Tanner was out there just
He
slinging
hit like
it.
8
I love.
threes. It was
Yes,
absurd.
in one game he had 8 threes of just knocking them down from anywhere. You kept them open. You were just going to. I think that coach that court 3 is kind of magical. We saw Cash Gardner a year ago for like 11 or 12. Now we see Tanner Powell go for 7 or 8. I mean, it's the setting is just right for some of these guys to come in and just play. And they hit a couple, and you go, huh, okay, I'm gonna. And then to just go along and just keep shooting and keep knocking it down. Tanner was the guy that for me that I really enjoyed watching.
Anthony Avalos, Houston
Yeah.
Superstars. I feel like there was so much like drama and intrigue in that Houston Superstars game. I got to see Avalos in a game previously, and it is just a guy that I hadn't seen. And there's not many guys like that where I'm like, I show up and I'm like, who is this cat? And Avalos played well. He's got length. He's legit 6'5", 6'6", can rebound, can shoot the ball. And has a future that is bright if he continues on the trajectory that he's on. Really, really nice player, and I'm looking forward to seeing that kid again.
Yeah, for me, Bryce Rockmore for the takeover. We kept talking all week. We were excited to see BJ Gill, and then RJ Green shows himself. You're like, okay, I can see why this Iowa Colony team made the run that they made. And then you see Bryce, you're like, oh man, now I can really, really see it. Because they all 3 play a little bit of a like BJ Gill was just speed running the show. Green, 3-level score, strong body, probably handled a lot of mismatches. But then you see this Rockmore kid, you're like, oh, this is the kid that when they make their runs, he's a big reason of it because there's just explosive scoring, quick twitch, anywhere he wants in the court, just all over the place with the hair flying all over. He really stood out, and I was like, oh, okay, this is all starting to really make sense why Iowa Colony is the real deal.
Absolutely. Blue?
From TWE 2026, there's a lot of different directions to go here. This was one of my best
nice
fun
team.
groups.
Nice
but Will Gasnick, point guard, Austin St. Stevens, he has just the ability to just go score on you. He's going to, if you kind of fall asleep a little bit, or you're looking for him to penetrate, he'll knock down the 3. You play him too closely, he just gets around the edges there, penetrates, dishes, or just gets to the basket and go finish. He's a fun watch, as this entire team is. They went 3-0 on the weekend, and we can't wait to get them again, which I think we get them at April 26th through 28th. So I already got it marked on the calendar.
Yeah, let me go. Chandler Beasley of Hyperfuse. He was a fun one where I won't say I hit a wall, but I was not filming and I was just sitting there just watching the court. And Chandler 6'5", ISO at the top of the key. It's a step back, and I just remember I was like, you know what? There's nothing more, but I'm just gonna tweet at him and just let him know I saw it, and you know what I saw. I didn't even tweet at him right after but it was like later on. I was like, "You remember this play?" And he's like, "Yeah." But his ability, shout out to Turf and Court Films. They posted another clip of him hitting tough buckets. So now you give me two to look at. So I know all weekend long at 6'5", the Willis product for Hyperfuse was getting to it, and he knows how to put the ball in the basket. And when you match that with his size and his body and his charisma and all that stuff, I'm like, all right, Chandler Beasley, I'm a fan of yours, and I'm excited to see how your summer goes with that Hyperfuse team. By the way, that had a lot of dudes on that team that I was really
Fun
that's a
group.
good team yeah. So when we're talking about momentum with the team side of things, Hyperfuse was a very fun group.
It's so funny how Michael and I communicate like across the gym. We have all these like almost like symbols and signs, and Michael gave me one of the like just one of the. Did you see that? I was like, yes, I saw that. But man, I'm gonna go ahead and give Linden's guy Nash Dunham HOH 17. You obviously I wasn't there to catch that group, but if Linden's putting them on here, they can play. If you're not following at Gaso Linden, I feel bad for you because he puts out some of the best write ups and best tweets about players live during the event. So make sure you're doing that. But hey, thanks for joining us. I see we're up to 332 live listeners. Maybe this is something we need to do weekly, guys, because the turnout was phenomenal. We are excited. There will be content continuing to drop, like I said, all week long. We have our Cup of Hoops. Michael has Acting Bad.
And I will say this: you mentioned it earlier. You mentioned no, me first. You mentioned it earlier. We are doing our our all tournament teams.
It's like our
on
personal tournament team.
Our personal ones,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, with the
but I just want to
man.
cover that. I want to cover that again because there's pressure on us and we're putting it on the newsletter. So I want y'all to make sure y'all go check that out. It's exciting. And is this Mass? I saw you write yours already. Does that mean your players are untouchable? How does this work?
Yes, they're untouchable. And I challenged our staff to talk about players that we're not necessarily talking about on any of our shows as well.
Yep.
So that's how deep this weekend was, that we're going to have 4 or 5 shows, 4 or 5. Yeah, tough, Michael. Figure it out. We're going to have, all these things, and we're going to be talking about the players that we saw this weekend. It was a great weekend of basketball.
Well, then I didn't talk about Flash Elite, but you did, Mass. So do you need to change?
Now we're claiming players and teams. Here we go. No, hey, on a serious note, one of us will get a graphic out of undefeated teams from this weekend. I have them both pulled up, but we'll do a graphic on that, and then also the go follow us at Gaso Blue, at Gaso Mass, I Film Hoopers, at Gaso Linden, at Gaso Tim, and I have a bunch of probably like 3 or 4 videos coming out on Tim Littlefields and his thoughts of Houston. So there's so much content. As we talk about it, maybe not enough. We're more than a weekend. This is Tuesday. This is Tuesday. Tomorrow you're gonna get a Cup of Hoops. You're gonna get videos from Tim Littlefield. You got the newsletter coming out on Friday. You got some graphics coming out. Don't stop just because it's a Tuesday or Wednesday. Keep hitting refresh on your Twitters.
Yeah, and we are gonna don't talk to us because we're gonna be busy on the scouting service, updating a lot.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing. While I was over here trying to post some stuff when it started, the scouting service is jumping. That's where that's the ultimate validation of a player is when you're like, hey, I like this kid, and I'm going to put him in the scouting service because I like him enough that college coaches, I know they'll like him as well.
Yep. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.